This is Hiroshi T with some carrier gameplay. Now, there has been a lot of discussion on the forums, a lot of crying over the Saipan. Now, the Saipan is a Tier 7 premium carrier for the United States Navy, and a lot of people has a lot of people have been having issues dealing with this because it has Tier 9 fighters, they're very fast, and because it's premium, a lot of players like to put 15-point captains in the Saipan. Now, this player here, BB63, I played against him last match, and he's really good. I looked up his stats, he's Unicum and CV. He's also playing 301 air superiority loadout, and he has a 15-point captain. So this is a rough game. I'm playing in my Strike Ranger, 013, no fighters to speak of. So that means I'm at a really big disadvantage when it comes to striking. So first things first, who has AA on my team? I have an Atlanta, that's it. They have an Atlanta, and they have the Saipan. So first things off, send my torpedo bombers to the center. I want to know where his fighters are, so I want to herd him towards my torpedo bombers. The Ranger has a huge hangar capacity. I have 2 more replacements for these torpedo bombers if they get shot down, so no worries. They get panicked, I see where all 3 his fighters are, but guess what? You get used to dropping when you're under panic, especially with so many CAs around. So, I know the relative position of his fighters now. I also know where the Atlanta is. So I have a nice area where I can work around. Knowledge is power, and I have it. As you can see, this player is pretty good. He has his fighters spread out. Most bad players you see, they group their fighters. Here, he tries to go after my DBs. I'm constantly moving around, making sure that he doesn't get a good strafe off. And as a result, the Atlanta shoots down 2 of his planes. So now his fighters are running out. Oh, uses another. So his fighters now are running at roughly half strength, and they've been burning ammo on my dive bombers and my torpedo bombers. But it's fine. I see a kamikaze that pushed out. I almost get a drop on him, but I accidentally flub it and put the drop circle too late. But that's okay. He's going to burn more ammo on these bombers while my other bombers fly around looking for targets. By now, my torpedo bombers are back up and they're headed out towards the center of the map, towards the Atlanta. Once again, he sticks his planes onto my dive bombers, shoots one down, whatever. He's burning ammo, I'm not losing that many planes. Atlanta's doing work. He's going to have to restock soon. All the while, his 3 fighters are being baited around by my 2 DBs. My torpedo bombers headed around the side. Here I finally get an opening to hit the Kirishima. Get 2 fires, he's not even able to panic and he misses his strafe. This means this fighter group is definitely going to have to restock soon, and I see it heading away. I get tempted to do a manual drop into the smoke where I think the Kirishima is, but because the fighters are all gone, I decide to just loiter around, see if the smoke goes away, and get a full damage over time low risk shot on it. And I do. 2 fires. And also, my torpedo bombers, though there are no fighters around, I get a free drop on the New York. He slows down just in time to only hit 3 rather than 4. So, that is my first strike cycle. I have a Kirishima burning, and that's probably going to tick me up to 50k damage. Just one strike. Here you see how little the dive bombers do. If they get a good hit, yeah, it will take a chunk and it will light a fire. But since this Koenig is all the way in the back, there's very little chance there's going to be a follow-up fire on it. He's going to survive just fine. Okay, I see a fighter. Now I know that his fighters have finally rearmed. Fighters actually do take a while to rearm on the Saipan. Sure, they're fast, but if they do go back to rearm, it will take a while. One thing about USNCVs is that only one plane can land and launch at a time. So if he has a queue of 3 fighters trying to land, it'll take 10 seconds for each of them to land because they have to queue up, and it will also take 10 seconds for each of them to launch. So having an idea of that gives you a nice time window to play around with. So here, I was going to send my dive bombers all the way around to see if it can hit the New York, but the team's pushing up well enough, I don't need to do that. So instead, I route all my dive bombers to the center while I let the torpedo bomber go around the edge. So I'm trying to do a concentrated attack on this Hiei who has pushed out ahead. I don't see any fighters, but that's because my team hasn't pushed up that far. I finally spot one, it's to the south, here's one coming in. It's going to try and panic one. It panics number 5, they drop, they still get 2 fires. 4 also drops. That one wasn't panicked. I fly bomber 3 over, acting like it drops, so he ignores it. Then I loop back after the Hiei has burned repairs, and I get 1 single fire on it. Now these fighters are all going to burn ammo on these dive bombers, and I also get a free torpedo drop on a Koenig since all his fighters are preoccupied. So there, you see an example of just plain overwhelming the Saipan. He might have been able to strafe from the side and maybe take my dive bombers down to 3 units each, but a strafe from the side is not going to kill all of the dive bombers. And because he only has 3 fighters, if I kept my torpedo bombers separate from them, I get a free drop since he's all busy dealing with the dive bombers. Another thing to note is that I'm calling out the Koenig to my team. I know I got a flooding on him, but he repaired that. So if he gets HE spammed and a fire set on him, then he's going to suffer the full duration of the damage over time. Right now, the team is doing really well. It's pretty much cleanup duty now. all I need to do is avoid the Saipan's fighters and farm some more damage, and the game's in the bag. Right now the team is telling me to move, but I'm completely behind the island and these ships are so low health that I could probably kill them both even if our team was. They'd have to loop around the island before they even see me. Also, dive bombers get panicked, they still hit 2 bombs and cause 1 fire. Many people complain about the dispersion and the RNG on the dive bombers, but it cuts both ways. You can do a really good drop and get nothing, or you can just be panicked and still light fires all the time. Once again, his fighters are busy dealing with my dive bomber. And when he finally sees their torpedo squadron, they're already close enough to be at an angle where I can drop. He's now forced to spread out his planes. I drop under panic, but once again, even if you're under panic, the dive bomber squads are so, the torpedo bomber squads, their drops are so dense that if you drop under panic and you still have a full squad, you're going to get a lot of hits. Here I even got 3 hits under panic. And then I also have dive bombers following up. And with this hit, the game's over. And that's pretty much how you play the Strike Ranger. I have to say the air superiority Saipan with a 15-point captain is probably the worst thing to deal with. But if you play around the map and you use your vast plane counts to your advantage, they can't stop you. Even last match where I did only 50k, that's still a good amount of damage, and I doubt his dive bombers did that same amount. Here, double that. Well, I hope you find this helpful. This is my first commentary, and honestly don't know if I'll do this ever again. But here you go. Strike Ranger, 114k damage versus a Unicum Saipan running AS.